Lifeboat Live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck.
Hello, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. Glad you're all here. Boy, you know what? We had what a turnout. Oh, squirrel, don't get up now. We had a great turnout yesterday. Mark and I were talking right after the live feed, and the number of people that watched yesterday was huge. It really was. And we thought, maybe it was one of those situations where, everybody just happened to show up. But the numbers continued to go up, which is really beautiful stuff. And once again, that's all down to you people. Word of mouth has really done some amazing things for the lifeboat and for the size of the crew. And you know what? We've said this before. We're not totally concerned with the size of the crew. We'd like to reach everybody on the entire planet. So obviously, the bigger the crew gets, the happier we are. But it's more about whether or not people are engaged in what's going on. And boy, people are engaged. They really are. Last night after the show, I was chatting with a couple of people, and we really feel like we're catching our stride. It's one of those things, and it kind of goes hand in hand with tonight's subject, because tonight we're going to be talking about dedication. And this is something we've talked about before, but in light of all of the things that we've been talking about on the boat recently, it seemed like it was probably a pretty good time to revisit this, because there's we talked a lot about passion, and there was a great comment. One of the people, and I don't want to say he's new because he's not, he had left a comment before, at least I think it's him. I hope it's him, but he had left some comments a while back, and then he's back and leaving some comments. But he talked about finding your passion, and that everything we talked about is important stuff. But going to meetings and staying chemical free and all of that is only going to get you so far. You really need to find your passion, and very often, we hear it from people. We even touched on it briefly last night, where people say, I'm having a hard time getting passion back. I'm having a difficult time, finding something that I can get excited about. And that makes perfect sense. It goes right along with the brain chemistry and all of the things that addiction does to the human mind, So, but aside from passion is dedication. Now, they overlap. Obviously, there's a lot of times where, what you're passionate about, obviously, you're going to be very dedicated to, and vice versa. But also, very often, you can be dedicated to things for which you have no passion. And you also could be dedicated to things that aren't moving you forward. It's very, very easy to be very dedicated to things that are actually, really inhibiting your ability to grow and your ability to stay sober. I think I got the volume on this. You know what I do? And I've been, as I said, I'm chatting with a lot of people, and a lot of people have reaching out to me, and these are people who are currently trying to get chemical free. They're not at that stage where sober is even something that they can wrap their brain around. What they're trying to do right now is simply get through a series of days without the chemical in their body. And at that juncture, when you're right there, you really need to ask yourself what it is you're dedicating your life to. What things every single day are you dedicated to that you do time and time again? And it really kind of dovetails with what we were talking about yesterday, doesn't it? If you're going to be anchoring your sobriety, or you're going to be anchoring something other than your sobriety, very oftentimes that's done with rituals. And sometimes, there are people for whom they're able to work for really long periods of their life, in spite of the fact that they're strung out. And, I was not one of those guys. My friend Alan, obviously, when he talked about, what he went through with his sobriety, Alan worked through the entire process. He was someone that was working and maintaining a job. Nevertheless, he was, addicted to not just drugs, but also alcohol. And there are those people who just continue to work so that they can pay for their habit. And you could be very dedicated to getting up, going to work, doing what you're doing. Doesn't mean there's a lick of passion there. Doesn't mean that the people who are paying you an hourly wage are getting what they ought to be getting. I've worked at jobs where I was dedicated to getting high. But especially right towards the end of the, my life was kind of segmented. And there was a time where I was very dedicated to, working. It was something that was a big part of my life. I was getting high every day, but the amount of money that I was making was enabling me to continue to sort of live both lifestyles. But what I was dedicated to was getting high. I would say to people, well, I do drugs every day, but, I still work. But the truth of the matter was I worked at a job where I was compensated for sales, and we sold very large ticket things, and the commissions were really, really huge. So if I went to work Monday and Tuesday, and by, the end of the day, Tuesday, I had made, 8 or 10 grand for the week, I wasn't doing anything the rest of the week. I mean, I would show up, but I may have frozen on the screen. Oh, there I am. Can I get a 5x5 from somebody? Hey, Derek N., good to see you. It looks like I may be buffering people. Can I get a 5x5? So what you dedicate yourself to is going to be something that dictates your sobriety. It's going to dictate everything that you do. So you have to ask yourself, what are you dedicating yourself to? What is it in your life that means the most to you? And again, this doesn't have to be passion, people, because if you're dedicating yourself to drugs or alcohol, especially toward the end of it. I mean, how many people have you seen in the comment section of the Lifeboat who are miserable, absolutely miserable, in the juncture they're at in life? They're not happy. They're basically forced to continue living a lifestyle that they've already outgrown. They've come to the realization that what they're doing isn't working, but there is really nothing that they feel like there's nothing that they can do about it. What you need to do, and this is something that is so, this is such a huge part of sobriety, but evaluating yourself, where you're at, what you're doing, what you're dedicating yourself to, what you're spending your time doing, and being honest with yourself about it is really one of the most important things you can do. Gantz Girl 94, I don't believe I've ever welcomed you to the Lifeboat. Great to have you here. So people, if you're at that launching point, if you're at that stage where you're getting ready to try to go chemical free, sit down with a piece of paper and write down the things in your life that you're dedicated to and evaluate whether or not they're going to move you towards your goal. And if you're saying, I don't know what I'm dedicated to, yeah, you do. You do. You know exactly what you're dedicated to. It's a very easy process. What do you do during the day? Day in, day out, repetitive, every single day doing the same thing. That's where those dedications lie. Yesterday, we talked about anchoring your sobriety. And I was using myself as an example. And I said, it's one of the things that you hear me say all the time. But for me, staying dedicated to being sober is the most important thing in my life. Because I know that if I slip up on that one, all of the rest of them are in hell. They're gone. All of the things that mean anything to me will be gone in the blink of an eye. If by some chance I get off the beaten path, and I know people, I don't want to send out a mixed message, right? Because we talk all the time about how relapse is a part of recovery. And it is, it really is. But you can get to a point in your life where you don't have another relapse in you. You understand what I'm saying? It's possible. And when you really start thinking about it, also think about the money you can be saving without spending it on dope or alcohol. Derek, and great comment, because it's true, people. And it's something that I definitely wanted to talk about, because one of the other ways, and Derek nailed it, one of the other ways to find out what you're dedicated to is, what do you spend your money on? Right? Money is one of the most important resources we have. And you could say, well, money doesn't buy happiness. Money doesn't do this. Money doesn't do that. And you're right. It doesn't. You could have a pile of it. That's not going to make you happy. But money facilitates things, and money gives you the opportunity to do things that can make you happy, right? If you have the ability to spend time with your family because you got enough cash, well, that's definitely something that can make you happy. Or if you have the opportunity to go and vacation with your family, or any of those things. Money is supposed to be something that makes life easier so that you can concentrate on the things that are important. Because let's be really honest, and we've said this before, if you're in active addiction, if you're sticking a needle in your arm 12 times a day, talking about spirituality, that's a joke. It's a joke. It's not something you're going to be able to concentrate on if you're in active addiction. If you're drinking a fifth a day, you've got time for spirituality. You don't have time for family. You don't have time for work. You don't have time for friends. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean you're not spending time with those people, but they're not getting you. They're not. They're getting the drunk version of you, or they're getting the high version of you, and that's not the same thing. And if you're being honest, you know that. But it's another great way to figure out where your dedications lie. What are you spending your money on? Take a look at your budget, because I've said this so many times that if you asked anybody on the lifeboat what my daily habit was, they could probably tell you. But I got to a point where it was about $600 to $700 a day. I wasn't spending $600 to $700 a day on my family, ever. Not ever. I wasn't spending $600 to $700 a day on anything else in my life. There was nothing in my life. In fact, as I said yesterday, I wouldn't fill my gas tank. God forbid, I would put, $30 in my gas tank and then find out that I needed $25 more for drugs. Jason Moots, good to see you, my friend. Glad that you're here. Jason's a great new member of the crew, people. Fighting the good fight, and has been doing a great job since he got here. And that's really the dream of the lifeboat. We're up to 2,250 people, I think. That's exciting. Obviously, it's very exciting. But I'd rather have one Jason, than any of the other numbers. Having people who are coming here and actually assimilating, coming here and becoming part of the crew, and leaning on the people that are already here and learning from the people that are already here. That's the dream of the boat. So Jason, it's great to have you. It really is. And I should probably make this announcement. I'll make it a couple more times because we have, almost an entire week to do so. But this Saturday coming up, right? So what's today? So we got like 5 more days, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, 5 more days. 5 days from today, we will be doing another interview on the lifeboat. And we are going to be revisiting Mr. Alan Ballantyne, who will be broadcasting live from Australia If you saw the first interview that we did with Alan, you're not going to want to miss the second one. It was amazing. So oftentimes the people that we have on here, it's a great, and again, dovetails into what we're talking about. But one of the other ways, people, that you really can tell what you're dedicated to is the amount of honesty that that subject brings out of you, right? Whether it was Alan or Niall or any of the other people that we interviewed, you hear this raw, just, I mean, the honesty from these people, where they talk about the things that they've done and who they were when they were in active addiction compared to who they are now. Nobody's knocking the corners off of it. Nobody is rounding anything out. They're telling you brutally honest, with brutal honesty, exactly what was going on in their life. And Alan is such a good guy. He really is, seventh son. He really is. I mean, I love him. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I love that man. He is, he's an inspiration, and it's such a beautiful thing. This whole sobriety journey. You know, the guy that left the comment, I tried going back and finding one of his other comments from before, and I couldn't. But if my memory serves me correct, the guy's got like 20 plus years of sobriety from heroin. And I can't tell you the inspiration that is. But I find inspiration from people that have 6 days of sobriety. I find inspiration from people that quit yesterday. It is such an unusual thing, this sobriety journey, because it gives you an opportunity to learn from virtually everybody. There are so few things in life where, normally, like right now, people, I'm obviously I've changed my vocation. And one of the things that's a part of what I do requires me to take apart and put back together watches and make repairs on them and things like that. They're terribly, terribly small. And they got a whole bunch of little parts, and I need to learn from the best. When I have an opportunity to talk to somebody that's been doing this their entire life, I latch onto that. If I try to learn from somebody that started a couple of weeks ago, I'm wasting my time. I really am. They're not going to be able to teach me squat. And it's that way in almost everything. It really is. You always want to learn from the best. If you could have Tiger Woods teach you how to play golf, you'd probably be in pretty good shape, right? The better someone is at what they do and the longer they've been doing it, usually the better off you're going to be. And those are the people you can learn from. But that's not the case in sobriety. It really isn't. Any single person fighting the good fight has got something you might need to hear. And it's just different because the insights don't always come with years and years of sobriety. Sometimes those insights come while someone's still using. It's one of the reasons really early on in the boat, there were actual conversations. If somebody comes here drunk or high, do we boot them? This is something we needed to talk about. And, we kept coming back again and again to, if you went to a doctor and you said, I'm feeling really sick, and the doctor said, well, I don't want any sick people in here. You know what I mean? You need to leave. God forbid. Why would I want sick people here? It sounds stupid, right? But it's the exact same principle. Kicking somebody out of a group of individuals talking about sobriety because they're using is just not a great idea. And very oftentimes, the things that come out of the mouth of someone who's still in the life can have really, really serious effects on you. It really can. But I digress. It happens from time to time, people. I've been known to for those of you new to the lifeboat, there's a reason that the cat's name is Squirrel. I very often do that squirrel thing and sort of jump off the beaten path. Oddly enough, when I went to adopt this cat, the cat was already named Squirrel, which is really kind of funny. But I digress yet again. The dedication that somebody puts into anything says a lot about what it is that they care about. And I realize that taking an hour every single day, especially at this time of day, and dedicating it to coming here and hanging out with a group of people who have basically one thing in common. I take that back. That's an awful thing to say. They have sobriety in common, and they have a kindness and a caring and a loving spirit that I've never found anywhere before. And that's just one of those things that that is a fact. But coming here every single day for an hour a day takes dedication. Last night we told a story. Mark and I told a story about. There have been a few times. One really great example in particular where we got here and just said, "Man, I don't want to do this." And people, the dedication is doing something on the day that you don't want to do it. You understand? That's what dedication is. And when you're dedicated to sobriety, there are going to be many days that you just don't want to do it. There are going to be many days where the automatic negative thoughts in your brain are throwing everything they got at you, right? It doesn't matter what direction you look in. There's going to be something that makes you think about drugs. There's going to be something that makes you think that, you know what, I could just do this one time, this one day. You know what I mean? I could, if I just got high today, I got 6.5 years in, I couldn't quit again. I could quit again tomorrow. I just got to, I get high today, tomorrow will be good. That's something that is always going to come up. And I would be lying to you if I told you that those things don't happen, right? But dedication is getting through those days. Today was a hell of a day. I got nothing to complain about. There was at no point today that I fantasized or thought about or thought, boy, it would be nice or any of that crap. Nothing. I have days, the number of days I have like this far outweigh the number of days that I feel like that I'm not really solid, but there are those days. And being dedicated means doing something that you really don't want to do because you know it's the right thing to do. Or it means doing something because you have no control to stop it. If you're dedicated to the drug lifestyle, it's not because you want to be in the drug lifestyle. I mean, maybe that was that way for the first couple of weeks, but I have yet to meet somebody that has come to the boat and said, you know what? I love it. I love doing what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to do it. This is the greatest lifestyle in the world. It doesn't happen, right? We've used this cliche 1,000 times, but no one woke up and said, boy, when I grow up, I want to be a drug addict. I always said just this one time. And then it was a year later. Derek, I used to say just one time. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll do it just one time. And then the next thing I knew, I would be incarcerated because I couldn't stop. It was so maybe it was a year later, maybe it was 6 months later. But it was always going to be one of those things where something needed to intervene. This is why people, earlier on in the show, I said, very often you get to a level of self-awareness where you realize that you don't have one more relapse in you. I've heard Niall say this before, that he doesn't have another one in him. The next one's going to kill him. If he were to make that mistake again, it's going to be one of those things that, he's never going to come back from. And I absolutely believe this to be wholeheartedly true with myself. It's not something I can't pass that judgment on to somebody else. I have no idea. That's another thing about sobriety. Every once in a while, you'll hear somebody say something about someone else's journey. Really got to guard ourselves from that. You have no idea someone else's journey. It's a dangerous thing to start making those kind of pronouncements or those kind of proclamations. But for me, there's no chance, people. If I relapse, you're never going to see me again. I promise you that. And the other thing is, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I'm now a long way away from anything that I did illegal, right? But I certainly would never get a pass if I were to ever break the law again. People, they're never going to let me out. I talk about my incarceration. I do it. Every once in a while we'll do a show where I talk about the day-to-day stuff in prison. But the truth of the matter is I was there 3 times. If you're new to the boat and that's something that you haven't got, I was a 3-time convicted felon. Well, no, I went to prison 3 times. I don't know how many times I was a convicted felon, but truthfully don't, a lot. But 3 times I went to prison. They don't give you a 4th try. It's not one of those things. So for me, when I talk about the dedication and I beat it to death, it's because everything else is secondary, and even though I explain this and I explain it often, But even though I explain it, I will get emails from people that say to me, your family should be more important. People, my family is my sobriety. You understand? And I don't just mean the ones that are part of my birth clan. I'm talking about all of you, right? My family is one hit away from not being my family. My career is one hit away from not being my career. Fatherhood, all of it is one hit away. I don't get another break. I don't get another try. And for that reason, this is my dedication. This is the thing that I am dedicating the rest of my life to. When my eyes open in the morning, it's my first thought. And before I go to bed at night, I journal, and then I thank God that I got through another one, right? There's one more day of sobriety. And I'm not trying to tell you that I'm white knuckling it, because I'm not. But make no mistake, people, I am thankful for every single day that goes by that I didn't slip. The guy, good to see you, my brother. Glad that you're here.
And I think I'll jump in real quick just for a second.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of when we do start entertaining and romanticizing, it ends up, we tell ourselves we're going to reward ourselves one more time, and it's such a, we're either one way or the other. So what I'm saying is that you're either rewarding yourself or you're blaming it on something bad that happened. And that's a really bad place to be in your mind. And that's what we fight against. That's why the dedication to all the stuff that we talk about is so important. But yeah.
No question. And you know something? You don't want to go back anyway. You're damn right I don't, Catherine. You're damn right I don't. And that's the truth. This is a labor of love, this dedication. And I have been blessed in that for me, my passion and my dedication line up. That was something that really, grace of God stuff. Sobriety is definitely what I have dedicated my life to, but it is also a passion at this point. This is not something that I say lightly, but when I see people who are struggling, I see the best, possible case scenario of that individual struggling to get out. Because when I look back at where I was, really one of the reasons that I wanted to do a YouTube channel, and one of the reasons that I'm willing to come here, an hour a night and talk to you, is because if I could do this, I promise you that there's nobody that can't. I was so far gone, people. It's rare that somebody can come around and talk to you who knew me then. But you talk about apples and oranges. You talk about night and day. That where I am is as far away as east is from west. My dedication in the previous life, I was dedicated to crime. I was dedicated to dishonesty. I was dedicated to all of these things that were a part of just one thing, right? That one thing was trying to see how much heroin I could put in my body. And the incredible thing was that it was never enough. I don't want anyone to think that there were times in my life where I bought a kilo of it. There were times in my life where I had, baseball sized chunks of this stuff laying around. It still was never enough. And the reason is, and I think that as people start to get sober, sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes 4, but you're going to get to a point where you realize that it wasn't about the chemical. You're going to get to a point where you realize that there was something that you were running from. I am damn proud of myself and everyone on the boat. I go to group once a week. I do your channel daily. Derek, I'm damn proud of you. That's the truth. I really am. The dedication that you're showing, this is why you will be successful.
Yep.
You have the absolute, your priorities are exactly where they're supposed to be. And it shows. You know what I mean? It shows. And you got a new boy there, right? Who's got such a better chance at life, people. When somebody gets sober, the ripples from that go out forever. And I mean that. That's not me hyping this up or anything else. It goes on forever. It doesn't end with this generation. you and I will be in the grave for centuries. And the ripple effect of you getting sober will have touched so many lives. Our kids will be different. Their kids will be different, right? Their kids' friends will be different. All of those things, those circles just continue. And it's why what we do is important. It's why this group of people have become so close. Exactly. The guy said, we spoke last night. I'm single now, and that's fine. Sobriety should be easy to achieve now. You know what? You're single right now is the key term. You don't know what the future holds. One of the most beautiful things about sobriety and about this journey is that you don't have any idea where you're going to be in 25 days. If you're in active addiction, I can tell you without looking at you. I don't need to know you. I'll tell you exactly where the hell you'll be in a month, because it isn't going to be any different. The only time that changes is if you end up behind bars or if you end up in some form of institution. But if you're in active addiction, what you do from one day to the next, 10 years go by and you go, what the hell happened? Right? I've been doing the exact same thing every single day because the only thing you're dedicated to is your drug. But once you break away from that, guy, I'm telling you, you're right now, today, you're single. 30 days from now, the girl that you were with might go, good Lord, look at him.
Yeah.
You have and that's the beautiful thing. The opportunity is now real, because there is no opportunity when you're in active addiction, people. You can convince yourself that there is, or I'm going to get a job, or I'm going to do this. None of those things matter. They really don't, because you're never going to get off first base if the most important thing in your life is the crutch, right, that props you up. If drugs or alcohol, or however you're getting down, if that is where your dedication lies, you're never going to move forward. And I promise you can predict, right? Where am I going to be in 30 days? Right damn here with a bottle in my hand, or a pipe or whatever your substance is.
Yeah, he said a minute ago that he said starting over sucks. And I said, I put in there, I'm not sure anybody's seen it, but not starting over sucks worse. Let's put it to you that way. It really is that way, guys. It's not starting over. It's, what's it say on the shirt all the time? Never quit quitting. No. Guys, it's the same premise here. And not starting over is, that's just not an option for any of us, really. And, I just think that takes a certain level of dedication. And it takes and it's not easy. And I think people need to understand that, especially right at the beginning. Because
no, it's definitely not easy.
You run into rehab facilities and stuff like that, and they try to make it seem as if it's going to be easy from here on out. And I know why they do that. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want you to run off.
Correct.
And that is a tight road to walk. We talked about the tightrope show the other night. It's the same kind of thing. But, like Tommy said a minute ago, everybody's journey is individual, and it needs to be treated as such. So, dedication for me. But yeah, got to keep trying.
The guy. I wanted to use me as an example because I think this is pivotal. You wanted to numb yourself from the people that basically screwed you over and set you up and sent you to prison. People, I've never gotten into this whole aspect of this, but probably a good time to tell the world. As I've told everybody, I went to prison for robbing banks. Right. The finer details of it didn't seem important to me, but important to share with you. But right now they probably do. I got convicted of robbing a bank I didn't rob. I never stepped foot in it. I never stood foot inside that bank. And I'm not lying. I have no reason to, right? I already went to prison. There's nothing they could do to me. I'm telling you the gospel truth. I didn't rob that bank. A gentleman robbed that bank. And when he got caught, he said basically, oh, I'll give you a bank robber. And this was somebody that I had helped out, and he knew enough about me that he couldn't give them any particular bank, but he could give them enough details about the fact that I had robbed multiple banks. And I sat in a room with a guy from the FBI who said to me, oh, I said, that's not me in that picture. You're telling me that's me in that picture? He goes, no, that's not you. But if I lock you up for this right now, and I take 14 months to go and look at every single unsolved bank robbery in the United States of America, I'm betting I could probably put more than one on you. And if I do, you're going to be looking at a lot more time. And they put a deal on the table that allowed me to plead guilty and they couldn't hit me for anything going back 11 years. And, you know, the lawyer that I had at the time, prior to the girl that I married, who was my attorney, but the one before that said, we're going to fight this thing. We're going to win. I promise you we're going to win because you didn't rob this bank. One of the things I ran across in prison was this. If you said to somebody, what are you in prison for? They would say, my old lady rolled on me. I got snitched out by so-and-so. This happened. Nobody ever said, I'm in here because I sold drugs, right? Because in their head, they weren't in there for selling drugs. They were in there because they were a victim, because somebody set them up. And I'm not busting your chops, guy. I'm really not. But this was something I had to overcome, because I sat in the prison cell and said, man, I am in here for a bank I didn't rob. Like that was, I couldn't get that out of my head. But the thing is, I was a bank robber. So what difference does it make whether they caught me for that bank or whether they caught me for some other bank? Because 99% of the time, when you go to prison for something you didn't do, there's a stink load of things that you did do that you didn't go to prison for. Now, I'm not saying that's you. I'm saying that's me. But when I came to grips with who I was and ownership started coming in, right? From the first day I started this channel, I said, you own your past, right? When people said to me, you don't need to do the history. Before Mark and I got together, this was very much just the Tommy Scoville show. This was very much me just talking about me. And, you know, the real complexion of the boat changed. But in the beginning, when it was just me talking about myself, there was a whole lot of people that said, don't do this. You're just setting yourself up for people to talk crap about you, and they're going to call you this, and they're going to call you that. You know what? They should. That's what I was. I was a convict. I was a bank robber. I was a bad human being. But you know something? I own it. And by owning it, there's nothing that anybody can say about me. However, we have this disease that goes along with addiction where we kind of embrace the fact that we're victims. We kind of embrace the fact that, you know, it's not really my fault. I'm getting high, but I look at this awesome reason, man. I got this great reason. Check this out. This is a good reason, right? The reason that you get high is because you choose to get high. And, you know, that I'll have somebody email me tonight and go, well, what about the person that, gets molested by their uncle when they were a kid? Yeah, that's a damn good reason to get high. Make no mistake, it is. But I could tell you stories of a woman who got molested by her uncle and got impregnated by her at the age of 14. And you think, well, there's a girl that probably ought to smoke crack. But she turned into Oprah Winfrey, right? It's 5% what happens and 95% how you react to it. I'm going to keep saying that until somebody gets really angry about it, because it is exactly the truth. It doesn't matter. All of the rest of the stuff, and I'm not busting your chops, man. I promise you I'm not. This is me. I swear to you, at this point, I'm talking about me. But I lived in that 5% zone. I lived in that 5% zone. When I went back to prison the last time, I was set up, right? Guy came to my door with a bag of guns, right? And he wanted to sell them. And I sat down and ran every gun through a system to see if it was stolen. I told the judge that. I said, look, I even ran those things through the computer to see if they were stolen. He said, you're a felon. You can't buy a gun. Awfully nice of you to run them through the system. But see, I was living in that 5% zone. I was a felon buying guns, right? With the hope of selling them. So I was a felon running guns. Why? Because I could get them cheap. I could sell them for a lot of money, and I got more dope. But I lived in the 5%. I dedicated my life to the fact that I was a victim in everything. And then I go to jail, and the girl that I'm married to shacks up with the local drug dealer, right? You know, I found this out in a Dropbox. You know what a Dropbox is, right? It's a place you keep pictures and videos. No reason for me to get into great details on the pictures and videos that I saw. But by that point, I had been sober a long time. When I got out and I found those videos for about 2 days, I went right back to that 5% zone. I couldn't believe what had happened to me. I couldn't believe how wrong she did me. But let's be really honest. If the two of us were together and I wasn't doing drugs, we'd probably still be together. I destroyed that marriage. The fact that she went and did something afterwards, No, I'm not going to live in the 5% zone anymore. That's not who I am. No, I own my past. So I'm going to live in the 95% zone. What can I do with it? So I sit here every night and I talk into this microphone because I'm never going to allow myself to live a BS life, because that's what it is. It's a BS life. I mean, I can serve up one real good one after another of why I have every right in the world to jab a needle in my vein.
Yep.
But that's never going to happen again, because I'm going to live in the 95% zone, right? Whatever the hell happened, people are going to look and go, boy, he dealt with that well, right? Because that's how I'm going to live the rest of my life. No matter how ugly that pitch comes across the plate, I'm going to hit it, right? Because that's all you got. It does no good whatsoever to wallow, and it does no good whatsoever to concentrate on all of the good reasons we have to get high. For every reason that anybody on this planet has to get high, I'll give them 4,000 reasons that they shouldn't. And the really funny thing is, if they think about it and they dedicate themselves to one thing, living their best life, then I won't need to give them any one of those 4,000 reasons.
That's right.
Because they will be so damned obvious. I mean, that's just really where it is. And I promise you, brother, I am not busting your chops. Don't be upset with me. I really am talking about me.
And I think the for an addict or an alcoholic that's trying to do what we do, or even just if you're not, the opposite of dedication to us is justification. And we're all just sitting around waiting to justify doing something bad or doing something that's going to make us immediately feel better. And that's kind of where it falls sometimes, I think. And, we can get caught in a cycle of just constant justification. Like you just said a minute ago, talking about all the bad stuff that happened. That all leads to justification in your mind, and I can tell you right now, he's not going back to that crap. Like you said, if he does, it'll be the last time we see him, because that's how dedication works. If you're totally dedicated to something, doesn't mean you can't fail, doesn't mean you can't slip up. But in the bigger scheme of things, if it gets to that level, and what I'm talking about, like just tripping up, is when you start tripping up in your mind. You trip up big and you go back completely full blown whatever, you can make it back from that, but the chances are so much worse, man. And that's why what we do here, and it becomes our routine, like we've been talking about. And it, Derek even said it earlier. This is part of his routine now, and that's what's helping him.
No question.
It's important. It really is.
When we talk about how the boat is getting to this just a better place, right? And lest you think I'm just saying that stuff, I could stop talking and I could just read you. I'm serious. I could just read the comments, and the comments answer everything. I mean, listen to this. Truth 76 says, owning who we are, who we have been, and who we are trying to be is the liberation of our souls, or so I believe. And you're right. You believe it, and you're right. I promise you, that's gold. Followed the next comment. Jesse Brown says, we can't move to the next chapter of your life if you keep reading the last chapter, right? Gold. I mean, this is people for real. And when I talked about how I don't care what journey or what level of this journey you are at, you can learn from every person who is fighting the good fight. I just did. I mean, those are two comments that I promise you, if I had a 3-hour show, I wouldn't have said something more poignant than either of those. When I say that the show is gelling and that we really have gotten to the place where we want it to be, that's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like yeah, you're right. It's right there in our face. Really, all you have to do is read the chat, and that's exactly where it comes. And you see it. And the thing of it is, it's not even just one. I mean, it's everybody. And you can tell that everybody's saying it because they care. Not because they're trying to look smart or say something clever or anything like that. They're on point talking to each other, and we're all talking to each other, and it just comes out that way. And the reason why it does is because we actually do care. And it's not fake. It's just not.
No, this is what we have decided to dedicate, our life to. Sobriety there really isn't, people. There isn't a better gift. You know what I mean? There isn't, and it's a gift that you can give to yourself, and it's a gift that you can pass on, because you're, like I said earlier, inside of every single addict is the best possible person that individual can be, and they're just wanting to get out. They're just wanting to break free and to live their best life. I lived parked full time in the 5%. People live in the 95. Live in the 95. We may not vocalize it or use the terminology every day, but this show is about the 95. It's not about, it's never going to be about what happens, because everybody's journey is different, right? But there are recurring themes. My ex is a loser. I'm having a real tough problem with visitation and all of the things that go along with that. The government is screwing me over, right? Tax returns don't come, all of the different things. There are recurring themes that happen again and again and again. But all of that is the 5. We can't control any of that. That the Serenity Prayer is popular because it's rocking, right? Understand the things that you can't control and react to them appropriately. And you're never going to have to worry about getting high ever again. You're going to live your best life. Good things are going to happen. The guy says, your prison issue sounds cooler. I got hit for bad math and bong water. If you did, you got hit for bad math and bong water. And you know something? I don't doubt that for a hot second. But were you not breaking any laws, the guy? Were you in church when they found your bong water? I mean, I'm not being a jerk, but I can understand why you're angry. I really can. But that's the 5%. All you can do now is the 95. And with no disrespect, because I really dig you, and that's from the bottom of my heart. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
But no disrespect. 15 years from now, we could be having this conversation, and you could be talking about the bong water and the bad math. And I'll tell you what, he did get screwed, because you can go and read the article, and they did.
Yeah.
I went and looked it up. He got
100%.
screwed. There's no question he got screwed. But that's the 5%. What happened to me? You're right. You got screwed 4 times worse. There's no argument with that.
Yeah, he just said it right there.
And I was guilty.
Yep. Yep. He said,
You're right, though. I did time for that I didn't get caught for. Yeah, that's how it is. So, and you know something? The sky just opened up, and the clouds parted, and the sun came down, and that moment, I kid you not, when you say just what you just said, the 95 is starting. You realize that. You just owned it. You are light years ahead of where you are when you're talking about the bong water.
You didn't even realize
years ahead.
Didn't even realize it.
That's huge.
It is. It's a huge thing. Yes.
That's
It
huge,
really
man.
is. Once you start realizing and accepting that, that's something that...
That's it. That's owning it, right? That's owning it. And I swear to you, that's where my life started. Until I started owning it and admitting that, you know what, honestly, I mean, look, if I want to keep it real, people, I should be doing life. The time that I got, and I'll tell you something else. The judge went above the sentencing guidelines. I got more time than you're supposed to for the crime that I committed. And the guy that got sentenced 4 minutes before me got literally 22% of what I got, right? With a longer criminal record. Do you know how long that was my focus? Huh?
Yeah.
I'm talking about years. I could spout that. I told every single person I met about that. Like, I'd meet a guy in prison and he'd go, hey, what are you in for? The dude before me had the same crime, right? This guy had been to prison 4 times. Like, I could tell you the guy's name. I could tell you his case number. The hell has that got to do with me?
Right.
I mean, honestly,
Exactly.
What has that got to do with me? But that's where I lived. I lived in the 5% because I was a victim.
Yep.
I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim anymore. I don't care what happens to me, man. If I get diagnosed tomorrow with terminal brain cancer, I'm not using.
Right.
What I own now is more valuable to me than anything, right? I'm sober. It may not sound like something. To me, that's gold, right?
Yep.
This is the greatest gift. I didn't think this was possible. Anything that comes down the pike, I promise you I can deal with. It doesn't mean I'm not going to pee and moan about it, people, right? I'm a human being. And I laid this floor down. If the people could have heard the things that I was saying, right? I get frustrated. I'm no saint. I'm no guru, and I'm not the Maharishi, but I'm sober. And that's right now, that's my dedication. Fortunately, it's also my passion. I'm living in a really, really great place. But the reason I'm living in a great place is because I'm not a victim. I'm not going to pretend I am. I'm not going to talk about how I got screwed over or anything else. I get screwed over. I did drugs. I robbed banks. I'm lucky that they didn't throw away the key. I am. I'm lucky that they didn't. Maybe I'm just a little blind and stupid. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. You're neither. Yeah, you're neither of those things, man. What you are is addicted. This isn't unique. It's got nothing to do with you, bud. No, I promise you, you're not you're not dumb at all. Look, and yeah, and on top of that, look, the chemical has a vested interest in keeping you in the 5%, right? Your brain wants you to feed it chemicals. It's going to do everything it can to ensure that happens. And as long as you got a really good excuse to get high, you're going to continue to get high. When you realize that there is no excuse for getting high, quitting becomes an easier thing to do. But as long as you hold on to that favorite excuse, and I used to have really, really, favorite excuses. I had a bag full, and I would pull out, my favorite excuses. Did he say? Right. Right. Well, and I'll tell you something. Q was a murderer. The guy that helped me get sober was someone that killed somebody, and I've never met a better person in my life. But I promise you that he got life in prison. And when they sentenced him, he was 17. Right? He was 17. He's part of this whole movement where if somebody gets life in prison before 18, they're supposed to get a new trial and all of those things. But he said to me, they're gonna resentence me to life in prison, because everybody basically that has come up for that has gotten life in prison again. But he's not angry. He owns it. He said, I took a guy's life. I'm probably going to spend the rest of my life in here, but I'm going to do as much damn good as I can. And he does every single day. That's the life he lives. It's the 95%, right? You gotta bloom where you're planted, and you gotta own your past. You're not stupid, dude. And I'm not even hearing that. I spent far too much time talking with you to even allow that to happen, right? I'm not even letting you say that, because you're sharp as a tack, right? You're on the precipice, brother. That's the reason you're here, right? It's the reason you keep coming back. It ain't because I'm good at this, right? It's not because Mark's handsome. You're here because you really do know you know that you're owning your past, right? You're just holding on. And we all do this, man. I did it for years. Everybody does it. But I promise you, man, the day is coming where I'm going to be holding up that statue and going, yeah, right? This is for the guy. Whether you believe it or not, that day is coming. I promise you, because you're there. You are. And you're more there every day. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Space Jesus got a good one. Space Jesus said, "This is reality in the flesh. It can and will happen to anyone under the right given circumstances or cards dealt, so to speak. It's real people. As tough as it is, it's either wake up or go to sleep." Boom. I mean, what a great comment.
Yeah, I was
Space,
muted, by the
good
way.
stuff.
Yeah, good comment though. Yes, I was muted, just so you guys know. So yeah,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, you seen Tommy's head bobbing there for a minute, and I was talking in the background, but it's all good. He said everything I needed to say. So, but yeah.
Oh man. The truth says I live in Greenville County, South Carolina. We got a 12-year-old shoot and kill another 12-year-old in a middle school a few days ago. 2 lives destroyed. My word, boy, that, and 2 families destroyed.
Oh,
just
yeah.
like I said, the ripples from somebody getting sober. It goes in both directions.
Yeah, that's horrible to hear that kind of stuff, and again, you know, we got to be able to understand where that comes from and not let it, you know, get. And I say this because addicts are really, really sensitive to stuff like this, because I'm telling you guys, I really truly believe that most addicts are way more sensitive than somebody that isn't typically. And I'm not trying to stereotype there. It's just we are, and that's why we go down the path we go down sometimes.
I think there's something to that. Derek N says, to be honest, man, the more you beat yourself down and feel sorry for yourself, it makes it worse. Look, and it's a self-perpetuating thing. Derek's right on the money again, because we're looking for excuses to continue to get high. The more you beat yourself up, the more you talk yourself down, the more reason you have to continue to do what you're doing. When you own your past, the purpose of owning your past is not to beat yourself up about it. It's to get the hell rid of it. It's to take it from right here and put it right here, right? Stick it in the rearview mirror and start focusing out the big piece of glass in the front, and things will change. But yeah, it's just one more example of, you know, when you start beating yourself up, what you're doing is parking in that 5%, man.
Yeah.
You know, that really is exactly what it is. And it doesn't pay off. You know, it does not pay off. Derek says, going to bed, y'all. Good night. Derek, be good, my brother. Thank you. Great night, man. You're on fire. All right, people.
We are at the top.
That brings us up to the top of the hour. You know what? These shows are getting more fun to do. I promise you they are. They're getting more fun to do, people. They really are. Tomorrow night, we will be back. Same bat time, same bat channel. This Saturday coming up, we will have Alan Ballantyne live from Australia. Again, Alan, take 2. It's going to be a great show. Alan is really living the dream, people. Alan is living the dream, and it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to it. You know, the guy inspires me every single time I talk to him, so I'm looking forward to everybody having a chance to hear him. So we'll be back tomorrow night. Between now and then, just one assignment. Reach out and try to save somebody. And you know what? Start with yourself. That's the place to start, I promise you. I am Captain Tommy Scoble, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
And this is A Cat in the Basket. Good night, everybody.